Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Battle of the Beasts New Protectors Era. Episode number 16 now, and this is the start of the semi finals. So, with 15 battles out of the way, starting with 20 beasts, 10 beasts died in round 1, followed by 5 more in round 2, and now we're at the semi finals, where 2 will die in the first part of the semi finals and 1 more will die before we get to the final 2 in the second part of the semi-finals, and then we'll be in the finals. So with this matchup here that I have in front of me, both of these beasts are going to be fighting out for their spot in the final, in the top 3, where they'll have a 50-50 chance to make it into straight through to the finals, or they'll have to face off against the beast that was lucky enough to skip this round. So fighting out in today's battle, we have a representative of Series 31, Guardians of Tangala. It is, of course, book number 3, Heraxor the Firehawk, versus his opponent, representative of Series 32, Battle on Kerador. A beast that is the last beast standing of that series. Book number 4, we have Kyropta the Skeleton Eagle. So with both these beasts here, it's fair to say because they're flying beasts, it doesn't really matter what kind of battlefield I give them. But I'm gonna say, well, if I say a forest arena, then that'd be a hat trick for how many times for every arena Kyroptus fought a beast in. I'm really tempted to say a forest arena, but you know what? Let's say a Fallen Kingdom arena. So yeah, we'll go with the Fallen Kingdom arena, and with that, let's get to the stats. So I almost forgot about that, but we need to do the stats first because they're very important. So let's get to the stats. Heraxor the Firehawk. Heraxor's abilities consist of flight, natural weaponry, enhanced strength and speed, hot to the touch, and sends cluster of sunbeams. I will say, as a regular reminder, every time Heraxor fights, the sunbeam ability is 30 seconds charge up, 30 seconds cooldown, where all he can do is just walk on his talons, can't attack, can't fly, and also the sunbeam attack is only once per battle. But with that, moving on. Kyropta the Skeleton Eagle. Kyropta's abilities consist of flight, enhanced durability, speed, and strength, sharp talons, sharp beak, 3 moving talons, once detached, and an ear-piercing screech. Okay, with the stats department done, we're going to go straight into the battle now. Fallen Kingdom Arena, and with that, let the battle begin. So as the chamber doors open, both beasts immediately fly out through the sky exit and immediately land on their respective perch outside their chambers and squawk into the arena. Well, Heraxor squawks, Kyropta screeches. As both beasts stare each other down, they both extend their wings and charge up towards each other, in which they aim to collide into each other, in which they immediately beeline upwards, flying upwards, spinning around in the double helix formation, before getting to the highest point they can, before they back away, charge into each other, and before they charge into each other, both beasts ready to just scratch the other with their claws. Kyropta gets a good swipe on Heraxor's chest armor, scratching right through it, causing Heraxor to give a sharp screech, with Heraxor's talons swiping at Heraxor's skull, unbeknownst to Heraxor, but very well known to Kyropta, scratching out her eye almost immediately. Kyropta screeches in anger over this, causing a bit of discomfort from Heraxor, but as both of them done their little flyby, they turn around to stare each other down, and that's when Heraxor noticed the damage that he's already caused. They go to charge towards each other again, but Heraxor decides to dive downwards, and Kyropta, confused by this, follows through by diving down after Heraxor. As they're diving down, Heraxor is slowing down, giving time for Kyropta to catch up, and as they're right behind, as Kyropta's right behind Heraxor, Kyropta goes to bite down onto Heraxor's tail feather, but Kyropta was distracted by that, Heraxor immediately pulls upwards, literally doing the curvature, where she immediately flies back upwards, and Kyropta crashes into the floor of the arena, not realizing how close to the ground they were getting. Heraxor noticed though. As Heraxor then dives back down to gets onto Kyropta, he pins her down by. Sorry, I got a dog in here who's panting a lot, so I'm going to need to deal with that. Heraxor then lands on top of Kyropta with her talons on her wing bones, starting to burn away at the feathers and burn in the bone that's on Kyropta's wings. Kyropta uses her talons to push her up off the ground to make Heraxor lose balance. As Heraxor loses balance, Kyropta jolts herself forward, turns herself around, and using her talon, full on kicks Heraxor back by scratching her in the face, like right across the face. Heraxor roars in anger as Kyropta picks up a rock and chucks it right towards Heraxor. Heraxor catches it with her talon and chucks it right back at Kyropta as Kyropta catches it with her mouth and breaks right through it with her beak. Heraxor stares at that before immediately charging up towards Kyropta, taken to the sky, as Kyropta follows suit by charging up towards Heraxor. They both collide into each other, using their talons to scratch each other. Heraxor's burning aura is burning away at Kyropta, but Kyropta can't feel it due to being a skeleton. They're just scratching, biting at each other, going all out against each other. The feathers on Kyropta starting to burn away from the heat that Heraxor's giving off, and Heraxor is defending himself as much as he can from Kyropta's aggressive slashes as well as bites. As Heraxor is also trying to attack back, not to give suspicion towards Kyropta, Heraxor decides that it's time to play a little bit dirty. He lifts up his talon, grabs it onto Kyropta's ribcage, and pulls his talon down, pulling Heraxor down to the ground, before putting another talon on Heraxor's head, just burning away at the skull. Heraxor, not giving any sound of pain at all, just screeches with her ear-piercing screech, causing Heraxor to take a step back, causing Kyropta to immediately get up, flap her wings right in front of Heraxor's face just to knock him backwards a bit more, and then using her talon, she full-on uppercuts Heraxor, knocking him back onto the ground. As he goes to get on top of Heraxor, she digs her talons right into Heraxor's legs. As Heraxor tries to get away, he can't really get away from Kyropta. He tries to jolt himself forward and bite onto Kyropta's neck, but Kyropta's neck is just out of reach. So he settles with the ribcage again and jolts his head back, slamming his head into the floor of the arena, but is able to flip Kyropta over him as Heraxor lands on top of Kyropta, burns away at more feathers on her wings before taking to the sky as Kyropta jolts herself upwards and goes to follow Heraxor. But as Heraxor has planned, Kyropta is now struggling to fly. As she inspects her wings, she notices that most of her feathers on her wings have burnt off. Heraxor gets up on top of the ledge where his chamber once was, extends his wings, and basks in the sun, starting to charge up. 30 seconds starting now. That's the finger snap. As Heraxor is engaging in the sun, Kyropta realizes what Heraxor is about to do, grabs onto a rock, chucks it towards Heraxor. It hits Heraxor, but Heraxor doesn't let that take away from the concentration that he has to do, as Kyropta throws another one and another rock towards it. Heraxor just takes it in, trying to deal with it as much as he can, and as soon as time's now, he takes to the sky, immediately sending a cluster of sunbeams down onto the arena. Kyropta immediately ducks into one of the shelters to avoid the sunbeams, and a couple of sunbeams go right towards the shelter that Kyropta's hiding. Immediately, it burns away at the stone of this terrain arena. Kyropta looks around, sees little itches of light coming through the gaps in the building, and sees smoke rising from the ground. she realizes that that's going to burn away at the rocky building, and realizes that she needs to get out into the open and just not get hit by a sunbeam. So as Kyropta gets out, she's immediately looking around and seeing that all the buildings are starting to burn away and start to crumble down. And Kyropta tries to fly away as much as she can, but she's unable to, and is eventually crushed by the rubble of the buildings as they fall down. Eventually, as the sunbeams stop and Heraxor lands down onto the ground, that's another timer. That's how I'm doing the timers now. Heraxor makes her way up to Kyropta, who is now struggling to get up, using all her strength to push herself upwards, but she can't. She detaches her two talons to just lift away and pull rubble away from her, giving Kyropta more chance to break out. And eventually she does get out and immediately charges towards Heraxor before tackling him to the ground. At that immediate point, Heraxor is able to fight back and puts his talons right on top of Kyropta's wings before just focusing all of his energy, his heat, onto her wings as Kyropta's just scratching at the armor, getting through it gradually. But eventually, Kyropta just does get through the armor and starts scratching at Heraxor's chest. Blood starts gushing out of Heraxor, but at that point, he realizes what he now sees on Kyropta's bony wings. Brittle. They're now brittle. Heraxor lets go of the wings before grabbing onto a rock with his talon, smashing it into her face, knocking her backwards before grabbing up, using that same rock and smashing it into a wing, instantly breaking it off. Kyropta, in shock by this, in anger, charges up towards Heraxor. Heraxor dives out of the way before landing on top of Kyropta's head and pinning her down, digging one talon on the head and another talon on Kyropta's back, burning away at any leftover feathers, but also on the bone of Kyropta's skull, and also her rib cage, as Kyropta's now running around on her legs like a headless chicken, pretty much. She slams her entire body into the wall of the arena. Heraxor quickly takes off, avoid getting hit, but then immediately gets back on top of Kyropta at the same spots, burning away at Kyropta's skull, but also ribcage, as Heraxor reaches down her wings, blinding Kyropta so she can't see where she's going. As Kyropta runs around and eventually trips over some rubble, which is just on the floor. As both beasts roll along the floor, Kyropta is eventually free from Heraxor, and through the one remaining eye, which is now bloodshot, Kyropta can see Heraxor standing up, ready for another charging attack. Kyropta, not the one to back down, charges up towards Heraxor. Heraxor just stays exactly where he is, right against the wall of the arena, and right before Kyropta charges into Heraxor, Heraxor dives out of the way as Kyropta smashes her entire body against the wall of the arena. With how long Heraxor's been on top of Kyropta's head and ribcage, the bones are quite brittle, and immediately Kyropta's skull cracks open. As Kyropta wanders around like a headless chicken, literally now, not entirely lost her head, but just wandering around, starting to lose consciousness. She sees Heraxor, charges up towards him, as Heraxor flies up towards Kyropta, pins her down, and using a rock smashes it against the skull, which immediately shatters it, causing any signs of struggle to immediately stop. And using that same rock, smashes into Kyropta's ribcage, finishing the bird off for good. Heraxor squawks in achievement? Squawks in achievement, extending her wings to show the pride and joy that she has, or the pride that she has earned, and before flying back to her chamber, ready for the next battle. So with that, Heraxor has won, Kyropta's lost. If you think Kyropta should have won, please leave in the comments below why you think that, how my words final, and Heraxor's moving on to the next round. So, being honest, I could have seen either of these beasts winning, and I went into this battle with the intention that Kyropta can be above Heraxor when the sunbeam attack happens, because Heraxor can only shoot it from this side of her wings. But no, the way I narrated it made Kyropta unable to fly. So, oops. But she was able to avoid the sunbeam attack, unlike other beasts which have been unfortunate enough to go against Heraxor. But Kyropta had the speed to avoid the sunbeam attack. So it is possible, but it can still do a number on you. And unfortunately, it still did a number on Kyropta, especially the arena turning against her. So Heraxor's the first beast, well, technically the second beast, but the first beast to your guys' knowledge to make it into the final three. Who will be joining her? Him. Who will be joining him? Well, only time will tell for that one. But with that being said, that's all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, press that little notification bell down in the corner below, and I'll see you next time.